Hello, and welcome back to Cruel Crimes. We are a new true crime channel. We aim to upload 2 to 3 videos per week. Our channel is still in its early stages, so please bear with us as we try to improve with each new video. Please consider liking and subscribing to us as it will also help us to improve and grow. Let's get started on today's true crime story. This is the case of Jade Janks. Jade was born on October 14, 1983 to her mother Jenny and father Steve. Unfortunately, Jade's parents divorced when she was only 10 years old. Despite the separation, she continued to see her father on a regular basis while living with her mother. Jade was 11 years old in 1995 when her mother met a man named Tom Merriman. Their subsequent marriage resulted in the birth of Jade's half-brother Cash. Despite the fact that they had different fathers, the two had a close sibling relationship. The family lived happily like this for a while. However, after another brief marriage of a few years, Jenny divorced yet again in 2002. Thankfully, once again, the family stayed quite close to each other. Tom was always present as well. After graduating from high school, Cash pursued psychology as a young adult. Jade's biological father, Steve, owned a construction company, and after gaining experience working for him, this led to her discovering a passion for the profession of interior design. Jade went on to study at Mesa College in San Diego after graduating from high school. Jade had everything going for her. Jade enjoyed traveling outside of work and aspired to enjoy the finer things in life. This included things like boat trips, designer clothing, expensive drinks, and fancy dinners out, and her lust for all things luxurious drove her to make several changes in her career. She started working for her father in 2001 and progressed through sales and management before becoming a project engineer. However, Jade was unable to find her passion through these jobs. And eventually the young woman knew she had to make the bold leap into interior design. Throughout this journey, Jade's relationships with her family remained strong. And she maintained close contact with her mother, father, and even stepfather even after their divorce. Tom knew he could never replace her biological father. Nonetheless, he loved Jade and supported her. And over the decade of knowing each other, the role of support switched between Jade and Tom. Where he once looked after her as a child, she now looked after him as an elder. Unfortunately, the elderly man struggled with alcoholism and an ongoing addiction to sleeping pills. Both of which were issues that Jade often tried to quarrel. But the two genuinely cared for and supported each other. Jade eventually moved into Tom's house next door to help look after him. Jade's ambition helped her grow her professional life exponentially in the years that followed. She had finally ventured into the world of design. She progressed through several design jobs. She founded her own interior design firm after gaining several years of experience. Her rapid success resulted in a staggering net worth of around $15 million. Meanwhile, Tom had his own success. In 2013, he founded a non-profit butterfly farm. As the aging man, wanted to bring something beautiful to the city of Solana Beach. Their lives were peaceful and uneventful for the next 10 years. That was until New Year's Day 2021, when the family received shocking news that would change their lives forever. The Solana Beach Police Department had a typical New Year's Day, with their usual influx of drunken brawls and other minor crimes. But things would take a morbid turn, and it all started when a man went to his local police station to report some very strange behavior. Adam Sipoliak was Jade Janks' close friend. It turns out that around noon on New Year's Eve, Jade called Adam for assistance in moving her stepfather upstairs. Adam was very busy at the time, so he had to decline. But, to make amends, he paid her a surprise visit several hours later. Around 7 p.m. however, it appeared to him that he had walked into an unwelcome situation upon his arrival. When he arrived, he noticed Tom's body slumped in the car. Officers conducted a welfare check on Tom because they were concerned about the information provided. However, when they arrived at his house, they noticed that the car was now empty. However, they discovered that the driveway was littered with garbage. There was nothing else out of the ordinary. When the authorities knocked on the front door, they were met with silence. Peering through the windows yielded nothing noteworthy. The house appeared clean and tidy, but as they walked back to their vehicles, officers noticed something unusual about the rubbish pile on the driveway. Further investigation revealed that something large was lying beneath all the debris, with an eerily distinct shape. Hidden beneath the garbage heap, Tom Merriman's lifeless body was discovered by officers. One of the most noticeable features was the pooling of blood around his face. This indicated that he had been there for at least several hours. However, the officers did not know what caused his death. This would not be known for several days. Once toxicology reports were received. The debris covering his body was obviously an attempt to hide him from anyone who was curious enough to look around. So, officers knew this was no ordinary accident. With thanks to Adam and the accusations he had laid before them, authorities had a specific suspect in mind, and of course, that was Jade Janks. Jade categorically denied any involvement in her stepfather's murder. After all, she'd moved next door to him to look after him. So why would she want him dead? In any case, she did not appear to be in a good situation overall. Officers arrested her on suspicion of murder late that morning. Tom's death shocked and devastated everyone who knew him. None of this made sense to anyone. The parents supported each other for decades, and Jade was one of the closest to him, so it was completely perplexing why she would be considered a suspect in his murder. Tom was in the hospital after a particularly bad fall. Jade had been caring for him since then, according to those close to the family. This included transporting him to the hospital and collecting medication on his behalf, and ensuring that his house was well kept while he was away. She wanted Tom to feel at ease when he returned. So, without any motivation, she got to work cleaning the place. While cleaning the office and around his desk, Jade accidentally nudged the mouse to his computer, and as a result, his computer woke up and the screen lit up. She noticed that his desktop background was an image of a woman's breasts. Jade's blood chilled as she realized she was staring at a photograph of her own chest after a few seconds. But none of this made sense, as she had only shared that picture with an ex-boyfriend several years ago, and how it got onto Tom's computer, she had no idea. Jade discovered more than 100 photos of her body upon further inspection, where Tom had organized all of them into separate folders categorized by her body parts. And if that wasn't bad enough, she discovered that some of these photos were more than 10 years old, when Jade was only 16 years old. Many of these photos were shared with previous ex-boyfriends, all of which would have been saved on computers or phones that no longer existed. But there was another set of photos that took things a step further. It appears that dozens of photos were taken from a hidden camera in the bathroom and bedroom. Of course, all of this would have occurred without consent or knowledge. Jade was already scheduled to pick him up from the hospital when he was well enough to return home, which would most likely be in a few days. And if she was able to keep her cool and control herself until then, she could then confront him directly. In short, her response to all of this was murder. And, given Tom's prior struggles with alcohol and medication abuse, she reasoned that she'd be able to get away with it. All she had to do was make it appear to be an accident. But Jade made one mistake throughout her plans. She made the foolish decision to involve other people in her actions after Tom was released from the hospital. She texted her fixer dozens of times, who was hired to cover up her tracks, and she detailed her murderous actions in these messages, where she asked for more assistance. Among the messages sent were, "I just dosed the hell out of him, stopping for a whiskey, then at Dixieland to stall, let me know, he's waking up. I really don't want to be the one to do this. I'm about to club him on the head as he's waking up. I'm not strong enough. He's aware now, and I'm on my own. Getting desperate." She followed up by messaging, "I can't carry him alone, I can't keep a kicking body in my trunk." Her fixer bailed at the last minute after realizing the gravity of Jade's actions. In a panic, Jade called Adam for help, who, of course, would be the one to turn her in. She told him that Tom had collapsed in her car after an indulgent cocktail of whiskey and sleeping pills, and that she needed help. As we already know, Adam then made his way over to Jade's house later that evening. That's when he noticed Tom slumped in her car. But Jade couldn't keep her story straight, and after telling him what she had discovered on Tom's computer and why he had to die for his actions, she asked Adam to assist her in concealing her crimes. However, Adam refused to be an accessory to murder. And after one last drag of his cigarette, he kissed Jade goodbye and exited the property. Jade, unsure what to do, drove Tom's lifeless body back home, which was conveniently located right next door. She then dumped it in the front garden and covered it with trash. She was hoping that this would buy her more time to find a new fixer. But, before she could proceed with her plans, Adam and the authorities intervened. Following her arrest, Jade remained calm, collected, and cooperative with the authorities as they searched Tom's home and, eventually, her own. With millions in the bank, she could afford the best lawyers money could buy and even her own bail, which was set at $1 million. However, her bail was subject to several conditions. To begin with, she had to move back in with her mother, and she couldn't travel more than 7 miles from home. In addition, she had to wear a GPS tracker at all times. Jade's trial officially began on December 21, 2022, giving her 2 years of freedom before facing a judge or jury. Throughout the proceedings, Jade's defense claimed that she was innocent. They claimed that all of the evidence used against her was circumstantial, and that the text messages she sent were taken out of context and could have been interpreted in a variety of ways. The prosecution, on the other hand, claimed that Jade drugged Tom before suffocating him with a plastic bag. Toxicology reports eventually concluded that his death was caused by a zolpidem overdose, which is better known as the powerful sleeping pill Ambien. And Jade's defense centered on this. They presented the information as proof that Tom died from a self-inflicted overdose rather than murder. And because he was known to struggle with alcohol and medication abuse, this does not appear to be such an implausible explanation. To supplement the evidence presented at her trial, inside Jade's car, a number of suspicious items were discovered, which included a red rope, pillowcases, and 3 hand towels tied together to form a rope, and a receipt for these items. This receipt was from the hardware supply store Dixieland. During questioning, Jade sobbed as she took the stand, and among the many things she said, she described her feelings after discovering the images on his computer. "When I went to clean his office, I was wiping things down when I bumped the mouse on his desktop computer. And it shook the screen awake. And I looked, and there's a picture of female breasts on the screen. I have a beauty mark on my chest, and when I looked at it, I realized it was my breasts. It was the most horrible, gut-wrenching feeling I'd ever had. I felt sick. I couldn't even touch my own skin. I don't know the words. I'd seen something so sickening." The jury nonetheless convicted Jade guilty of murder despite her justifications. Her sentencing is set for spring 2023. In the state of California, the minimum sentence for first-degree murder is 25 years in prison. That means Jade will be imprisoned until at least 2048. Her defense will almost certainly seek the shortest possible sentence, and will most likely focus on her emotions and feelings to justify her actions. It is clear that Tom was not innocent throughout this ordeal, and at the end of the day, he callously collected porn of his stepdaughter, and with some of these images dating back to when Jade was only 16 years old, it's difficult to imagine how violated Jade must have felt. This man was like a father figure to her. And for him to objectify her for his own twisted sexual fantasies, it's truly horrifying. Nonetheless, Jade's reactions are extremely difficult to justify. In his final years, Tom made numerous mistakes. One of them was alcohol and prescription medication abuse. But having indecent images of his stepdaughter was a whole new level. Most of his family remembers him fondly. Despite the fact that everyone around him was extremely disappointed by his actions, they were all shocked and saddened to learn of his death. That's all for today's story, guys. Thanks for sticking around and listening to us. If you enjoy our content, please take a second to subscribe to us as it really helps the channel grow. Also, please like and share our content. Thank you, and goodbye.